MMA Rants and Raves, UFC 122, Nate Marquardt versus Yushin Okami post-fight review. Guys, where were we? Was this really Germany? Or was this America? What the heck was all the booing about? It's usually the American fans that do that. They're very restless. They usually want to see, maybe this big knockout happening right away. I think this is actually a pretty good fight. I mean, it was a well-rounded mixed martial arts fight, pretty much what I expected when I did a preview of the fight. I mean, you saw a lot of good stand-up, you saw good ground game, submission attempts, good grappling. I just didn't understand what the booing was about. I mean, it was, really annoying. But anyway, let's talk about the fight. Basically, all 3 rounds, you saw Okami dictating the pace of this fight. I mean, he was the guy that was the aggressor, taking the center of the octagon, pushing Marquardt. Marquardt seemed to backpedal a lot. And it seemed like Marquardt was looking for this strategy for the most part of the fight. He was trying to get this counter. And I really didn't understand when he was trying to do that. I mean, it was like flashbacks of the Akiyama-Bisping fight, where Akiyama was trying to time Bisping the entire fight, a guy who's a more skilled striker than he is, when he's a guy, who's a very skilled judo guy. You didn't see enough grappling. So it was kind of like, he was trying to do the same thing. He was trying to time, a guy like Okami, and this is a guy who has a very good chin. I mean, the last time he was knocked out was sometime in 2003 or something. And since then, he's fought guys with good knockout power and has done well. And he's a very skilled striker. It's not like he's going to be exposed or anything. He's a very good defensive fighter. It's hard to time a guy like this and hit him. So I just didn't understand the counterpunch strategy, especially, when you can say that, Okami has the advantage in the striking. I mean, he has one of the best jabs I've seen in the UFC. He's, really technical. He has quick hands. He hits hard. I just didn't understand what he was trying to do, and it does not look good in the judge's eyes. Even if you don't take that much damage, you have a guy who's constantly pressing the action, and you're the guy backpedaling, and you can't get anything done. It's a problem. And of course, he did accomplish what he was trying to do. He did hit Okami, but he was able to shrug that off. It just didn't have the effect that Marquardt wanted it to have. And what I didn't understand is Marquardt's real strong point. I mean, he's a really good striker. There's no question about that. But his ground game is something that has really made him successful. I mean, his ground game is one of the best out there. And he proved it in this fight. I mean, he won the ground war as far as the takedowns. He got a lot of good takedowns, especially the end of the 2nd round, into the 3rd round. But he should have been doing that the entire fight. I mean, wasn't he watching the Sonnen fight? That's obviously the weakness in Okami's game is wrestling. If you can grapple this guy and continue to grapple and take him down, you could win the fight. Of course, there's other things like the leg kicks and the knees. Those were successful. Okami doesn't throw many of those, and Marquardt did. He should have gone more to that rather than trying, to counter and backpedal. And there's a lot of good counter punches out there, but it was not working for him in this fight. It just didn't seem a usual fight for a type of guy like Marquardt. And he was facing a completely different fighter from his last opponent, a guy like Paul Harris, who's a heel hook Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, and here's a guy who's a very skilled, very technical striker. So I didn't understand the strategy. Of course, the fight was a very close fight, and it really could have gone either way. It was close because of the fact that Marquardt, got the takedowns. He did throw some good knees. I remember there was a point in the fight where, Okami went for a flying knee, and Marquardt just planted him with a really hard punch. So, like I said, Okami's really good chin. So the counter-punching strategy, I just didn't understand it. I just saw this fight that if Marquardt would have been more aggressive with the grappling, he would have a much better chance in this fight. Much better chance, because it seemed like he was winning that battle with the takedowns. Marquardt's a very skilled athlete, very strong guy, more compact, because shorter, less long as Okami. And it seemed like, he was able to win the takedown battles, besides for the one that was reversed when he tried to go for that guillotine. But he was very technical on the ground. So I didn't understand the game plan. And as a result, they say styles make fights. Well, game plans make fights. And it cost Marquardt. So anyway, impressive victory for Okami. Liked the fight. He was patient. He pressed the action, was aggressive. He really depended a lot on the striking, and it really paid off. And I said this in my prior vlog, this guy, he is the very first fighter that's coming out of Japan that has a chance to be a real threat, to make a name, for himself as well as his country. Because let's face it, Japan and the Far East, that's really where mixed martial arts came from. Jiu-jitsu and, all these other different types of fighting styles in mixed martial arts. A lot of it came from Japan and the Far East. And the thing is, we really haven't had a top-level contender coming out of Japan into the UFC until Yushin Okami, because Yushin Okami is going to be fighting for the middleweight title. And he lost that chance several years ago against Rich Franklin. He was going to get a shot at that title. He lost to Rich Franklin, and now he succeeded. So for the very first time, I think, in the UFC, we're going to see a pure Japanese mixed martial artist fighting for the title. I think it's pretty exciting. It's going to be very interesting to see, if he can do it. So in a way, you can say that it wasn't mentioned as far as I know, but he made history today. He's going to be the first Japanese mixed martial artist in the UFC that's going to be fighting for a title, as far as I know. I mean, looking back, it seems that way. So, it's a really important victory for Okami, very impressive victory. So I'd like to know what you thought about the fight and the UFC 122 card. Please leave your comments, rate this video and subscribe, and thank you for tuning in.